Always love that song. Hey, everybody. Good to see you. Thank you very much for joining us. The first piece of business to deal with is we were actually going to be having a show this evening on the National Trust. It was a live Q&A. That'll be on Friday, I believe, because we've moved it around a little bit due to a couple of bits of breaking news that have taken my time away from the prep for that show, shall we say. And of course, we're currently in its slot for this piece of breaking news. But welcome to Geeksvana. It has been an interesting week so far on the channel, with drones over RAF bases, or are they little green men coming to visit, to confusion and frustration with the CAA over their own reports. Today, we're going to provide a deeply concerning update to the story we ran regarding the CAA consultation on charges and their proposal to increase the PDRA 01 fee to £500. This investigation led to some pretty direct questions being asked of the CAA comms team, and to their credit, they have answered them in an open and direct way. That is something that I would like to thank them again for. We did that in the show the other night. The professional approach to communications we've experienced recently with the CAA has been fantastic. So following the show, we asked a few short questions. Now, to save time when we go through them, I'll show you the question and the answer together because it's in the same email, which will obviously save a little bit of time there. Remember, these are email screenshots of the actual replies and conversations received to my Geeksvana account. Firstly, I want to show the email received in reply to our query asking for justification and research the increase to £500. Basically, what was that actually based on? And here is the email. So I'm just going to read this to you. So, hi, Sean, thank you. In our 2023-2024 annual report, we stated that page 43, capital expenditure additions during the year total 3.6. This principally related to IT 2.8, more specifically the development. More information on this project can be found in our efficiency report on 51 to 59. The report is on the website, which is CAP 3010. So we obviously went through this on our live show, which regular viewers will obviously remember. So as you can see, the CAA have specifically sent me to that report, and in fact to page 51, which, whereas regular viewers will know, this is where we see this particular paragraph. We get these strange numbers of 7,000 ops today and a forecast of 75,000. Now, remember, this is a forecast, so the CAA are telling the reader that they have reliable information to back this up. They've done their research, they've done their work, etc. One quick point to make as well is that these figures are not sourced, so they should be absolute fact, in my opinion, and based on information held by the in-house author. In other documents, the CAA have quoted figures and given the asterisks to show where the information has actually come from. Like, for instance, here on the famous US consultation review, where they talked about the 18,920 phone calls. Obviously, there's a little number there showing that it is where the source is, and it actually came from the police in their consultation. But with this report, as you can see on the page 51, it's just quoted outright. So this isn't something which they necessarily should be taking from somewhere else. Following our show discussing the 7,000 and 75,000 figures, we then asked a few questions with the following responses coming pretty quickly from the CAA. So again, that's obviously a good thing. So here it is. So thanks very much for your continued patience while we look into this. Here are the responses to your questions. Number one, the question I asked them was, could you please provide information on what evidence the 7,000 per annum today is based on? This, of course, cannot be the number of OAs in place at the date of the publication, so it does create some confusion. The response: thank you for your questions about the figures published in our annual report. The figure of 2,806, as it appears on page 12 of the report, is the correct and actual figure used for the final scheme of charges modelling, with gradual predicted increase to 3,475. We'll come back to that by 3031. So they are there confirming that that figure of 7,000 is pretty much based on nothing. Point two, could you provide information on research and evidence used to provide an estimate of 75,000? Please also provide information on what this figure represents. Is this the number of OAs predicted to be live in 2030? The 75,000 figure is a reference from an internal report which directly references the PW Skies Without Limit report. And then they continue to talk about the fact that is a widely regarded by industry as one of the better predictors of future of UAS industry. I don't accept that at all personally. We did not use the numbers from these independent reports directly in our modelling to calculate the scheme of charges. So why are they in this report, you might ask? And then it basically states that the various scenarios are there, but they've used the lower numbers. Obviously, how on earth can we necessarily trust that now, basically? So the CAA are confirming that the two critical figures within the annual accounts, a report presented by legal obligation to Parliament, are wrong. They confirm the 7,000 is absolute fantasy, frankly, offering no defence to that one whatsoever. What is the true number? Well, it's 2,806, as stated elsewhere in the report stats. So they place the 7,000 claim in a report that even includes the right number somewhere else in the report. Absolutely incredible, frankly. How about the 75,000? The CAA claim that this was taken from an internal report, one we haven't seen, of course, based on figures from the PwC report, which is the Sky Without Limits. Now, this is the version 1, which they actually linked to in their email, which, despite their claim as being a benchmark report, has many detractors from across aviation. Even so, it is also strange that they claim to have taken the data from the 2018 report rather than the version 2 report, which was published in July 2022, which is obviously still long before this annual report would have been written. Another shocking fact behind the use of the PwC report is the back of page of the report. It actually states that this content's for general information purposes only and should not be used as a substitute for consultation with professional advisors. So the authors themselves of the PwC are warning people not to base anything on these findings as such, which are produced in a very unique way by PwC. That entire report is a very unique thing, frankly. Here is the kicker on the 75,000 forecast. The CAA confirmed in that same email that I was showing you before this one here that the correct forecast for operational authorizations in financial year 3031 is 3,476. So that's over 70,000 less than the forecast in the report. So the CAA have confirmed to Geeksvana in writing that an official report sent to Parliament, gone through the audit system, etc., signed by Secretary of State, is wrong. It has figures within key pages that the CAA sent me to as an explainer of their work that have no basis or explanation. So keep that in mind, please, that they have actually sent me, they've said, hey, you want explanation of this £500 increase? Go to this report, pages 51. And that's the first part of the information regarding the DISCO system. This information could well then have been used in many ways to justify all kinds of actions, funding and more. We have no way of knowing how deep that goes. The CAA claim in their email that the lower figures were used in the charges consultation, but we have submitted more questions to them that we will run through once I've brought Graham in to discuss this a little bit further. So let's bring the main man in himself. I think he's having a bad day. You okay, Graham?
Speechless. Sorry.
Yeah. So the CAA have confirmed official documentation submitted to Parliament is misleading, and of course it's a CAP document, so it comes out to us, the public, as well. What are your thoughts on this, Graham?
Thoughts are we've been really generous using the word misleading, and I know we had discussions about using other words. There was steam coming out of my spreadsheets at the weekend when I put my LinkedIn post together, and we're looking at a difference between a 92% annual growth rate, 92% growth rate. I mean, I wish I could get that rate of interest on my savings. That's a growth industry going from 7,000 to 75,000. Although I did do that from 2,806, which we know is a known figure. We do it's up to that 75,000. The actual growth rate is a slow like 3.6%, and I am getting better returns than that on my savings. So the growth rate is, I mean, slug-like. This is future flight. This is the future of the CAA, essentially, because, hey, we won't have people in planes for very long now. And what I don't know. Their ambition's dead, and their calculators must have melted. It's Yeah.
It's incredulous, isn't it, really? And because
It's incredible.
again, bear in mind, people, that we are talking about here a report, as per what's on screen at the moment, that is the annual report and accounts, and this is something, as it states here, is presented to Parliament pursuant to the Civil Aviation Authority Auditing Accounts Order 1984. So this is a serious document to get wrong, and it's all very well and good to say, oh, don't worry, the figures aren't based on that. But why else? Can we think of another reason why they can't explain how those numbers are there, really? Because they haven't shown any evidence of the 75,000 really, but they can't even defend the 7,000. Why would these even be in here if those numbers are available? Because of course I asked for these numbers and they came to us within about 24, 48 hours. So they're clearly readily available. They clearly know the figures.
And we've also looked at those reports and looked for 75,000 and can't find 75,000. We can't find 7,000.
Yeah.
But those numbers don't even appear in the report. So we've been told to look at these, this is the report it came from. It didn't.
No, because
in
actual fact,
where they came from.
It's from an internal report that's based off of another report.
It's based on a report and what's that internal report telling people?
And there's no sources. There's literally no sources. So so whether it's us or whether it's an MP, whether it's whoever is reading that document to find out what's going on with the DISCO system and the future of drones, etc., they're not seeing source internal report, and they go, oh, actually, can I see that internal report, please, so I can see what weird and wonderful thing that might be based on. There's none of that, which I find incredible.
Some numbers that they can assume are correct because hey, we've got professionals working here.
Yeah, and just bear in mind the actual predicted number of ops in 2030, 2031 is about half of
lower than
it
was a couple of years ago.
Yeah, but it's about half of what the report is claiming is now. So the 7,000 would actually be nearly double, let alone the 75,000.
I know they don't even reach their claimed start point
in 2030
in 6 years time.
It's incredible.
It's none of the numbers were. I mean that growth rate. It's a 21 times exaggeration between what they say they're going to do.
21 point something times. It's crazy, isn't it?
3,475 is 21 times smaller than 75,000. So, and yes, that 75,000, I would have to use the word ambitious.
Yeah.
The 3,475 is totally lacking ambition. And the fact those numbers get in is just a reflection of the professionalism that we have come to expect on this program from documentation from the CAA. Important documentation, or none of it's important, in which case, guys, ignore the lot, because it's all rubbish. It's either all good, it's all rubbish.
Yes. Now, there is a really important distinction, and we're going to come on to what the next steps might be after we talk about the next questions that we've raised with the CAA, which of course we'll give you the answers when they come through. Excuse me. But I want to explain one thing which is key for me personally, that we've spotted a lot of errors in the drone code, CAP documents, all these other things. They get fixed. We say thank you very much, and we all move on, because now we know the people downloading that document that want advice on how to fly their drone in the UK are getting the right advice or the correct, the correct guidance. Basically, it's great. So wonderful. So we can move on. It's another mistake from the CAA. My problem here is that this is a legal document. This is the accounts of the CAA. Signed off, as it says, by Secretary of State, submitted to Parliament under legislation, under a legal obligation under that legislation. This must be right. How many times has this been proofread? How many times has this been looked into up and down? And how on earth can you just have that? And my concern is, where else has that information been used to gain whatever, be it funding, be it support, be anything at all? That's why, to me, this one is so much more concerning than not simple errors, because they are serious. But this, to me, is far more concerning than, let's say, an error on a CAP document.
Absolutely, and it sort of points to an inability to understand numbers, almost, doesn't it? And the importance of numbers. And when you are going to say to specific category OA holders, we're going to more than double the cost of your annual renewal, then people start to ask questions.
It's
We also have the standing point, which is this is something we've spotted because we know the numbers around drones.
yes.
What else is wrong in this document that hasn't been spotted or needs to be looked at by other groups?
Which is exactly what we've said before, isn't it? And there was actually on the other one, there was the safety report. There was another correction, wasn't there, from another?
There was another correction, when they checked it over.
Exactly, but it's extraordinary. It really is, and you do worry, because one of the things that hit me when my very first read of this particular document is the fact that it's so vague in terms of the language. So I'm aware this is probably a little bit small on people's screens, so I'm just going to zoom it in there, and then I'm going to mess it up. Well done, Sean, I've messed it up. But it talks about 7,000 and 75,000, but it doesn't tell us what those, the more consistent and standardized way to assess operational risk aligned to global standards enables an efficient application process that is scalable. So application from forecast demand
from 7,000
per annum today.
That sounds like it's from a specification.
It's bizarre, but it's almost as if, if you take the very dim view on this, it's almost as if it's deliberately a little bit wishy-washy right at the end there, because it doesn't actually stipulate what those numbers are. Which to me is concerning, because there is the possibility, unless they can show us evidence otherwise, that these things start to become, I'll call them deliberate errors. Because I want to give everybody the benefit of the doubt until we see the evidence.
When I type things, I am doing it deliberately.
Yes, exactly. That's as far as I will call it at this precise moment, shall we say. Now, we do have a list of questions that the answers have given us, including, in fact, we have a separate list of questions which we've raised just in terms of the PricewaterhouseCoopers, the PwC report that was used and why they didn't use other ones, but we won't bore you with those ones. The main questions that we've now raised with the CAA, this is in terms of trying to get some kind of handle on what's really going on here, is the first one: who prepared the paragraph that contains the quoted figure of 7,000? If you're unable to provide their name, because they may not wish to do that, I understand that, please adjust their title and position within FS&I, which I don't think that's too much to ask, is it? We're basically saying, what level of person wrote this? This is essentially what I want to know. When this paragraph was prepared, whether it was prepared for this report specifically or a completely different report, I'd like to know, was that somebody on I was about to say day release. I meant an intern.
It may have been.
Hey, I meant an intern, and there's nothing wrong with that. If they have a day release program of people working at the CAA, wonderful. I fully believe in turning people's lives around. But I more meant intern. Is it an intern or is it a senior manager? Who has actually provided that? Now, based on that answer, of course, my next question would be: could you provide details of what level of proofreading is given to such an important document? Because I can only assume that this kind of document is proofread not only within the FS&I, the RPAS team, but also across the main CAA accounting teams, the auditors, of course. At some point, people have to trust what's been written by departments, of course, don't they? But the fact that they're claiming, and quite rightly, on the correct figures in the graph on page 12, was that because they couldn't change the graph on page 12? Is that anyway? I'm overstepping my bounds there, but there we go. And question 3: what evidence can you provide that the calculations for the scheme of charge consultation were based on the lower figure? Can you show internal documentation confirming this? You will understand that it is difficult otherwise. I think I'm being diplomatic when I put that. Essentially, how can we believe what they are saying, that it's been based on those lower figures? Okay, yes, in fact, it probably is based on those lower, because it's quite a high amount, but we need to see the evidence of that. We need to see the workings in the background.
But basically. we've got to bear in mind, we mustn't forget the consultation in all this. We don't want a dead cat scenario where we're all concentrated on this 75,000.
Yes.
And meanwhile they're doubling the costs, and significantly higher costs in different areas that we haven't even got onto yet.
You have to ask if it's valid, though, don't you? Surely.
Yeah, absolutely. So we need to make sure the figures are valid. But even if they're valid, it doesn't mean we accept them, because we don't accept the premise that, here's a new digital system that will make things easier for you. It actually makes things easier for us. can we have all
Well,
of your money,
it's
please?
a digital system that we've reduced the wait time from 16 days to X hours. No, you've
Yeah, no,
removed
you
the
have,
process that took 16
you've
days,
changed the,
and you're
exactly,
automatically
just
giving
pushed it
people,
down
and
the line.
that's a whole other show which we've got coming up in terms of
Yeah,
why I think that's a problem in terms of risk and everything else. But that's a whole other thing.
yeah.
And the next one, point 4, is if the 75,000 and 7,000 figures quoted are from different reports, why was this not explained within the paragraph? A report based on the annual account should surely be based on only on CAA data unless source and explanation is provided. A real basic one there, which I think everybody is
Yeah.
going to understand. The next one, there aren't hundreds of these, don't worry. There's only 9 of them. 5.
It was a good drive home, this one.
Wasn't it just? Yes. Drafted these on Graham's drive home. Question 5. If you were able to quote the expected figure of 3,475 op-auth by 2030, why was this figure not used in the report? I.e., if you could tell me, a journalist, very quickly and very efficiently, thank you for that, what that actual forecast figure is, why is that not in the report? If it's that easy, if it's that at your fingertips, why was it not there for that person?
Well, I mean, let's face it, that paragraph talking about scalability would be laughable if you're talking about scalability from 2,800 to nearly 3,500. I mean, that's like
that's the entirety of the spec cat as well. That's the entirety of the of PDRAO 1 holders, essentially.
That's future flight, drone deliveries,
and whatever other PDRAs they bolt on, of course. So it's
absolutely. Yeah.
Okay, so point 7, what steps will the CAA take to correct this figure? Because of course, this isn't just correcting a report within their department, a CAP that covers AMC or something. This is a CAA-wide document. Will an apology and correction be produced and sent to government? Because I would like to see something where they tell government that report they've submitted to Parliament is wrong. And point 8, on this point, can you confirm if these figures have been used in any other report to government to justify funding or as part of a justification? And then we have one final question, which is slightly longer, but I will skip part of it. CAP 3010 states that this is presented to Parliament. That's essentially what that bit says.
That'll do.
Can you please confirm that the inaccurate information was indeed presented to Parliament? If this is the case, as indicated by the document, what steps will you be taking to report itself for the false information? Because there are obviously audit regulators and that type of thing that they will probably need to, there's the National Audit Office, Ombudsman Services, etc., which I would have thought there might be needing some kind of stepping in there. So I think those are some reasonable questions for us to ask next, aren't they, really? Because they've answered the other questions pretty quickly as well, which is great. Now, they haven't stepped away from it from the point of view. They haven't said, okay, that's going to be damaging, so we're probably not going to tell him that. They've come forward and they've told us, which is...
so far they've been really, really good.
Yes. So now the next test is when it gets a little bit more juicy, as we are now, where will we go? So we will, of course, let everybody know as and when that actually happens. Now, this, of course, does need to be addressed not only by the CAA, but government more broadly. And to this end, I've actually spoken with the drone barrister, Richard Ryan. I've put links to his website, but also his Twitter account or his X account, as it's called now, in the description below. I recommend you go and follow him because he does post some excellent blog articles, including one on AAE, which is an absolute piece of art, frankly, in terms of the way that he structures that. But we will be working with Richard in a number of steps to take this forward. And he has actually asked me and confirmed that he would like everybody to know that we will be working together on this. Now, the remedies that we're going to be taking is we would like to try and seek a parliamentary inquiry over this, which is obviously something that you can contact your local MP to bring up and then obviously have that brought in front of the Transport Committee. The way that's going to happen is Richard is compiling a letter that you'll be able to download from Geeksvana. I'll let you know when that's live. It will be very soon, though. And you'll be able to send that letter to your MP, which will basically request a parliamentary inquiry into what is happening in this situation. There will be a raft of freedom of information requests going in, which Richard is going to compile and submit for us. It kind of keeps me a little bit separate from that side of things as well, which helps. But we will also be looking all the way down the line, frankly, to referrals to National Audit Office and even a potential judicial review, which again, obviously obviously isn't mine to be doing, but it's part of the process that could well start very soon in the background there. And of course, we will keep as much media pressure on this as we possibly can as well. But this is something where we're going to need your support and the community's support moving forward, from the point of view of downloading these letters, sending them to your MPs, and let's get this parliamentary inquiry. Let's start to hear how deep this rot really does go, frankly, and what on earth is happening. Because I cannot, as I sit here today, I cannot personally accept that this is just an error or a miscommunication, or perhaps the wrong language was used. To me, this feels like you are misleading people, frankly.
It's a carefully constructed paragraph with some absolutely bizarre, I've used the phrase cheese-induced fever dream before I realized it was actually a cheese-induced fever dream. But the 7,000, well, we don't know, the 75,000 from an internal report from that report where it doesn't appear.
Yeah,
brilliant.
Which you would hope they would forward the internal report at that point, wouldn't you? But we'll ask for it. We'll see if it does come forward. So that's where we are. It's going to be an interesting one. Yeah, the David Walker, Windows short for a JR. Absolutely, it will be. The JR probably won't be just on this particular fact, shall we say? So there have been, of course, issues. Have there been issues raging for a while, Graham? How could that possibly be? It can't be so, can it?
No, I mean, we do just want to talk about the exciting things like UFOs.
Like UFOs
we do UFOs.
Yeah, well, I think I've done those this week, to be fair. But yes, and yes, John Burns is saying about the National Trust one. Yes, indeed, and we will be coming back to that later in the week, because it's an important one to do. That's the stuff we want to do. We want to sit around and say, hey, this is how you work and fly safely around National Trust and feel good yourself, not just two fingers up auditor style, I'm going to fly here anyway, gov, but actually doing it so you walk away with warm fuzzies and get your shots and actually bother nobody. Frankly, they won't even know you were there. Frankly, if you have our style as well. So, and a few questions about the National Trust thing in there, which I say we will certainly come on to. And yes, Mike Drennan, thank you, one of our oldest members. He's in fact one of the founder members who his badge is about to switch across to the founder member, the new badge, which is on the community tab.
Does that mean he's been a member a long time? He's an older member, or is it decrepit? Sorry, Mike.
No, yes, he's about to bridge across into the 60 months. Both him and Shirley Drennan, actually, Mike and Shirley Drennan are channel members, and yes, they've been supporting us for a very long time. I got to know Mike over the Microdrone 4 issues. I know him well. He's as much of a friend as a viewer could be. And we came this close to meeting in London, actually, when he was here last.
Bless.
This close. It was so frustrating, but there we go. And yes, looking else at what else people are saying here. Blind Neil, hi, good to see you. Coming or going, lurking or chatting, please remember to smack the thumbs up. Yes, it makes me smile. We've got 31 thumbs up and 131 viewers. I'd love to see some more likes there. It would be wonderful. And we have a celebrity in the chat.
Yeah, I noticed there. Hello, Matt.
Matt from MPW. Yes, Matt, 73,000 fewer. I would like you, Matt, when you were running your RAE, I think you should have just put, any old figures in your class, in your courses, and just see if they accepted them. Within 73,000 is apparently the ratio.
We've sorted out my safety case for next year, which is when I put the batteries in, the drone gets lighter. So I'm going to go in for flying over crowds.
I'm being evil again now, aren't I? Ellis mean because they know they messed the industry and fewer people are bothered about doing things legal now. I have to say, since the video that we put out and the whole time around the AMC with the orientation, I think that was one of the lines in the sand where a lot of people, because there's a lot of comments there where people on that video that say, look, I was trying to follow the rules. I've followed this channel. I wanted to follow the rules. I wanted to be safe, etc. But I'm just going to go ahead and carry on being safe and not worrying too much about the rules. And that's a concern when that's coming back directly off the back of actions from the regulator, isn't it? Really, it's one of those things. And Mark, hi, good to see you, Mark. All about drones. Well found. The CAA has made a mess, and well done for uncovering it. Yeah, no, thank you. I appreciate it. It's a lot of time and work, and this man is a huge addition to the channel in terms of someone that I can bounce off and gives me the confidence to push forward. And I'd like to say that to all the other people like Richard, Ian, etc., other people who help and support us, and Matt himself, actually, of course. How are they getting such fundamental things so badly wrong? They've been making mistakes for forever, and there's always an excuse. There's simply no excuse this time, and that's really well put, Matt, as usual. This is something that I think there is no excuse for, because it can be, as far as they knew, I would have taken this particular page and accepted it and carried on and go, okay, guys, it's great. We're going to have 75,000 bananas, we'll call them.
I mean, that's a great story, isn't it? If we believe that, it's fantastic. It's
so, we could have all gone off into the future holding hands, looking forward to our 75,000 bananas.
I think I calculated if each of those organisations had 5 people, we'd have 375,000 drone pilots. Oh, by the way, 75,000 is more than the total number of manned pilots registered in the UK.
That's right.
So in 6 years' time, we're going to have more organisations employing pilots than there are manned pilots
right now.
And it's not a little bit higher, it's a really big number higher,
which is on page 12, isn't it, I won't file to it right now.
I think it's something like 48,000.
Yeah.
So
yeah, no, indeed, it isn't. It's a bit of a concern, isn't it? Frankly, and it's one of those things that I think we're going to have to keep pulling at this thread. I'm sometimes seen as Mr. CAA. I'm sometimes seen as the guy that, and really the
I'm not.
And really, I'm not anybody's, frankly. We work with the police on this channel. We work with the CAA. We work with anybody in drones that wants to move things forward in a positive manner, frankly. And it isn't that we are sympathetic or anything else like that. My issue is, if you bring the airspace regulator into disrepute, if you're constantly having to attack them, if you're constantly having to pick them up on things, people lose respect for that. And like Airless Means comment in the chat, people start to drift away from regulation. People start to say, well, I'm not going to follow that anymore because they're not even getting it right. Why am I going to get it right? I'll just be safe. And I'm not saying everyone's going off and flying their FPV drones flat out.
We know they're not. We know they're not. Yeah,
exactly. But people do start to step away from it, and my fear there as well is the more that people back away from engaging with regulation, etc., the less people complete consultations, and the more and more we end up sleepwalking into a situation. And I know sleepwalking with regulation is used a lot, and I apologize for that, but we do end up sleepwalking into a situation where we have a lot of regulations that nobody wants, things like
and very few are following,
things like orientation, because in fact the CAA came on this channel and warned everybody when that consultation was out, everyone go to pages 89 and 90 because you're not going to like it. We're talking about putting orientation in there as part of the AMC. You must be able to see the orientation of the drone without lighting, etc. People aren't going to like it. Please come and give us your answers. And there were a few hundred, something like that, answers stipulating that particular clause, which, bear in mind, my video on that has tens of thousands, something like 80 or 90,000 with thousands of comments. So there were certainly more people that were worried about it that would have filled out a form. And that's my concern, is that we try to give that. And of course, the CAA is an organization as well. So as an organization, as an entity, as a need to have good regulation, I support that. But of course, I don't support people that put things like 7,000 and 75,000 in reports because
or a system that allows it, and allows it through,
and allows it to continue. So right, that's my soapbox. Graham, do you have anything else you want to say on this?
I am seriously speechless. I know because I speak with Sean regularly on my commute home, and we were both spitting feathers, weren't we? We were so angry about this one because of where it's appearing. The fact that we were being told that the scheme of charges was based on this data, and it was clearly nonsense. So yeah,
that does make me angry that they've asked us to accept and present a document to our audience, I presume hoping that we just present it. I can't imagine that they would give it to us knowing we'd spot the errors. I can't see that. It's not something that I think. If you do tag Geeksvana, as this one just had, I have an 80-inch screen up here for other reasons to do with our production business, but I put the live chat up here because I'm old and it's nice and big. And if you do tag at Geeksvana, it really does scream orange Geeksvana at me. But Mike has just said Geeksvana, it's been a debacle for months and years. The worrying thing is not getting better, and this is just the UAV side. Yeah, no, indeed, it's a massive concern because so many people, especially in this particular sector that we've been talking about with the disco and PDRAs, etc., they're running their business for this, and
it's food on the table.
The hobby is just as important. It's vital. The mental health it brings, all of the other things. I'm not degrading the hobby whatsoever, and many people that fly professionally do fly it as a hobby as well. But this is people's work.
And the hobby feeds the industry as well. It feeds people into the industry.
Exactly.
They
and vice versa with Graham, because we are going to get him flying as a hobbyist once he retires.
I may have more time in the new year.
We'll have Graham's FPV vlog for the members. I'm absolutely determined that will happen. So, just a few notes for your diary. As I say, we will have the National Trust video coming very soon, both a live show and in fact then there's going to be a guidance video to back that up. On Monday, the 2nd, so this coming Monday, Richard Ryan will be live on Geeksvana, who is the drone barrister. We're going to talk about this. We're going to talk about the letter and other bits and pieces as well, so be there for that. But it's also going to be a live Q&A, which we're going to be having on a regular basis with Richard, where he's going to answer your questions and that type of thing and talk about, why my council won't let me fly my drone in the park and that type of thing, which I know Graham loves when we bring up that topic. I've left myself on screen there. I left that focus on you like that. Then, isn't that
quite right too?
Yes. What a beautiful. Can we have a close up of the shirt? Look
probably
at
a blurry one.
No, it's actually very focused.
It's nice.
It is a nice shirt.
Yes.
It's a November shirt. It's sort of Remembrance Day.
Yeah, no, very, very respectful. I was going to make a joke about the shirt then, but I won't now that you've said that.
Yeah, no, don't.
But I was waiting for you to stand up and for the flowers to say SOS. Just about SOS. Blink twice if you need help. Yes.
I might send a little signal out with the colour of my backlighting in a moment.
Oh, okay. Well, you go ahead and do that, and I will wrap things up. So as I say, we've got that coming up on the 2nd. We've got lots more coming up in terms of content on the channel, interviews. There's stuff for the members, etc. There's another members meetup coming up, which we're about to post on the community tab. So if you want to come along and chat to me and Graham, then you can do that over a Zoom call and a group of the members, which is always good fun. We tend to get into some very interesting deep dives and rabbit holes, etc. But I can answer your questions as well. And anything else, you can always email Sean@geeksvana.com if you've got any other questions, etc. We deal with a lot of questions via email, and we're always happy to do that. So are you about to do your colour?
I am.
Oh, this is very technical for Graham.
That's yellow, the colour of deceit.
Why would you put deceit on, though? I don't understand.
I don't know.
No. Okay. Well, I'm going to say Sean out, and then Graham's going to have the last word.
Oh, cry, I haven't written one. I haven't thought of one.
Is that how much shock you've been in?
It is. It is a reflection shot. Let me come up with a last word. Oh, I know the word.
Go on.
It is a word. Sclerotic.
Okay, whilst I go and Google that, thanks everybody. See you next time.
Thank you.
Remember to fill in this consultation. It's still important.
Yes.
The letter's coming, but you must fill in the consultation. Mention this 7,000 and 75,000 and that you want evidence that this thing is not based on anything. Go and fill it out. We'll link it in the description. It's not there yet, but I'll put it in the description before I go home this evening. Thank you, everybody. See you next time on Geeksvana. Bye-bye.
Bye. Sean.
Oh, hang on. We're back on air.
Hello?
We're back on air.
What?
Hang on.
Back on air?
Hang on. There we
I
go.
was about to whisper
There we go.
sweet nothing.
There we go. Yeah, no, that's not the one. Where's the other one? Here we go.
That's a good one.
Here we go. Matt Williams. Fly safe and blue skies.
He's in there.
Now don't we feel all warm and safe in the drone?
My last word.
In the drone industry.
Sclerotic.
Bye everyone.